Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, amazingly enough, GamingGang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, August 9th, 2023. This is live stream 949. If you're not overly familiar with this show, let me point out, super casual, just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And normally we will take a first look at a game. Every once in a while, we'll actually do a live review in these here parts, but for the most part, it's usually a first look. And tonight, yes, it is Wednesday. It's not really a war game Wednesday, but it is a conflict Wednesday because I'm going to unbox and take a first look at Cyberpunk RED Combat Zone, which is from Monster Fight Club and R.Talsorian Games. And this is a hefty box. We're going to be taking a look at this in just a bit. So do want to mention, if you are tuning in live because you want to see the Combat Zone unboxing, we do tackle the tabletop gaming news first around these here parts. So it'll probably be about 40 minutes before I jump on into the first look at Cyberpunk RED Combat Zone. So if you are watching live, kick back, put your feet up, relax. Got some cool news ahead. But if you happen to be tuning in 30 minutes or more after the show has ended, there will be timestamps. So if you are impatient and you just gotta jump ahead, I understand. I'm pretty excited to take a look at this game as well. So there are show notes. There will be timestamps. So you can find those timestamps in the show notes. Click on one of those. It'll jump right to that point, and you can certainly be able to skip the tabletop gaming news that way. Of course, those timestamps might actually be right there in the timeline of the video that you're watching, depending on the device you are watching on. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit GamingGang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you will not find over here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Also, since this is a live stream, that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Yet another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you've got a question, a comment, maybe there's something about Combat Zone you want a closer look at, well, then by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight was Testy Trekkie. Also joining us is Kathy Evans. The Motor City Madman, one of our chat moderators, is with us and saying happy hump day. Yes, it's Wednesday already. Straight Kismet and Kevin R. Smith are also with us. And I wouldn't be surprised if our other chat moderator in the neighborhood, actually, she doesn't live that far from me, Sarah D might be lurking as well. So, welcome aboard, everybody. It is Wednesday. It is ungodly humid down here in the Duct Tape Studios tonight, and everything. It was pretty nice. And then all of a sudden, we got some rain that rolled in about 20 minutes ago. Actually, I got caught in some of it. It was coming down at a pretty good clip, and now it's just sort of. So, also should point out that still playing around without a true preamp. So hopefully the audio quality is okay tonight. I know the gate was a little too high last night, so there was a little bit of kind of cutting off my speech, but I think I might have taken care of it for tonight's show. So Sarah D says, nope, they aren't around. Oh, well, maybe next time we'll see Sarah D. I don't know. All right, let's jump on into the news, because currently up on Kickstarter and actually funding in the first 45 minutes is the Dolmenwood tabletop role-playing game from Necrotic Gnome and Exalted Funeral. I know this is something that people have been waiting for a long, long time. Most people thought this was just going to be a setting for old school essentials. And I guess the decision of Gavin Norman and the rest of the Necrotic Gnome and Exalted Funeral teams was, let's just make this a full-fledged game. And I've got the scoop. Welcome, traveler, to the fungus-racked tangle of Dolmenwood. And beware, for all here is not as it seems. Dolmenwood is a fantasy adventure game set in a lavishly detailed world inspired by the fairy tales and eerie folklore of the British Isles. Like traditional fairy tales, Dolmenwood blends the dark and whimsical, the wondrous and weird. Streamlined rules and helpful introductory materials guide novice players, while unique new magic and monsters brings a fresh sense of the unknown to veteran role players. We're launching a 3 Dolmenwood core book system, plus a range of delectable extras, which, gotta be honest, I'm not gonna really get into. I'm just gonna talk mainly about the core books. Rife with intrigue, secrets, and magic, Dolmenwood draws travelers of adventurous spirit, daring them to venture within. Explore the wild places of the wood, traveling through bramble-choked dells, fungus-encrusted glades, and fetid marshes, bedding down among root and bracken amidst the nocturnal babbling of strange beasts. Unearth treasure hoards in forgotten ruins, haunted fairy manors, dripping caverns, crystal grottos, unhallowed barrow mounds, and abandoned delvings. Confront fell beasts, roving fungal monstrosities, terrible worms, tricksome fairies, and restless spirits of the long deceased. Recover saintly relics and shrines lost to the befuddling tangle of the wood, gaining the favor of the church by returning them to civilization. Forage for weird fungi and herbs in the untrod depths of the woods, many with useful magical powers, and many that can be sold for profit. Strike against chaos, defending civilization from the encroaching forces of the wicked, half-unicorn Naglord, who lurks in the corrupted northern woods. Unravel secrets of deep magic, charting the obelisks, dolmens, and ley lines littered throughout Dolmenwood. But beware the sinister Droon cult that wards them. Seek the counsel of witches and hags, masters of magic that can heal, hex, or divine the future. Meddle in the affairs of the nobility, allying with the noble house in its intrigues and power plays, in the courts of High Henkel and Castle Brackenwold. Journey across fairy roads, ancient magical paths bordering on the ageless realm of fairy that allow travel throughout Dolmenwood and perchance to realms beyond. Return to the homely hearth to share tales of peril with quaint locals over a mug of ale and a well-stoked pipe. There is a short Kickstarter video about Dolmenwood, so let's take a peek. The Dolmen Wood Kickstarter project is fully funded. You can reserve copies of the trio of core books in PDF for a $50 pledge, or snag the physical hardcovers, which will also include PDFs, for a $95 pledge through September 18th. There are a variety of pledge levels. There are miniatures, all different stuff. I just thought I'd share the core books with you. Expected delivery on these digital titles is next May, and the physical books are set to arrive in September of next year. Unfortunately, it's a little too bad, because I would have thought that these would have been a lot further along in the production line than I guess they currently are. So, little surprising. Do want to mention there is a 70 plus page PDF that is available absolutely free if you want to go take a peek to get a better feel for Dolmenwood. And I gotta say that I am quite interested in this, because I like old school essentials. I think Gavin Norman has done a really nice job with that. It's not perfect. There are a few little quibbles I've got with it, but I think OSE is pretty damn well done. So Wild Hunter is with us, as is Roger Prudhomme. See, look at that. It's like 3 shows in a row. I haven't called him Proger. I guess I should be patting myself on the back. So it looks like quite a few people are pretty interested in this Kickstarter. Unfortunately, there are a few different things that are kind of preventing them from jumping on board. And yes, I do get it. The shipping for some folks outside the US. Although, see, this is what I don't know. Exalted Funeral is out of the United States. Necrotic Gnome is out of the UK. So I did not actually take a look at any of the shipping information for this Kickstarter. I would think it's possible you might have 2 different locales that these could be shipping from once this is completed and going out to backers. So we shall see. So Wild Hunter says this looks good. They like the artwork and the premise. It doesn't feel British, but it does say fairy tale. I have to say that the Old School Essentials Adventures, which in essence are set in the world of Dolmenwood, at least the ones that have come through Necrotic Gnome, they don't necessarily have, at least the ones I've taken a look at, they don't necessarily have a real strong sort of British feel, but they do have that old school kind of dark fairy tale vibe going for them. Let's move on to the next news piece, because strangely enough, I went months without sharing a news piece from Schwalb Entertainment, and now we've got 2 news pieces in two days, strangely enough, because Schwalb Entertainment has teamed with Bundle of Holding to bring you 2 money-saving deals on the Shadow of the Demon Lord role-playing game. Let me talk about the deets on the first deal. Hero. Through Unholy Rites, we've resurrected, for a 4th time, our May 2017 Shadow of the Demon Lord bundle, featuring, you guessed it, Shadow of the Demon Lord, Robert J. Schwalb's tabletop fantasy role-playing game of grim heroism against the cosmic destroyer. This revival promotes the launch of Rob Schwalb's long-awaited Shadow of the Weird Wizard Kickstarter campaign, which I talked about yesterday, which funds a standalone fantasy role-playing game of exotic fantasy using a new version of the Demon Lord rules. The Weird Wizard campaign launched on Tuesday, and it reached its $30,000 goal in 16 minutes. In the fast-playing, low-prep Shadow of the Demon Lord, desperate heroes battle strange magic, unhinged cultists, and roaming mobs of undead, while humanity's last great empire slides towards oblivion. Kind of sounds like the US right now. If you love Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the Ravenloft and Midnight settings, Joe Abercrombie's The First Law novels, and if you have not checked out those audiobooks, I feel bad for you. Definitely check them out. They are awesome. Or heavy metal music. Get this revived bundle of DRM-free PDFs and confront the void that hungers, or as star designer Kenneth Haidt describes it, pure, spiky, caustic, red-hot, squirming, delinquents, rigose, gonna bite your fingers off, horned, fetid, monstrous evil. For just $7.95, you'll get all 5 titles in this revived offers starter collection, which have a retail value of $41 as DRM-free PDFs, including the complete 278-page Shadow of the Demon Lord core book, the Demon Lord's Companion, the Uncertain Faith source book of Divine Magic, and the fine introductory adventure, Dark Deeds in Last Hope. And if you pay more than the current threshold price, at least it was the price this afternoon of $18.67, you'll level up and also get this Revival's entire bonus collection with 6 more delicious goblets of evil worth an additional $51. What's in these source books? The titles speak for themselves. Hunger in the Void, Tombs of the Desolation, A Glorious Death, Terrible Beauty, and Exquisite Agony. Plus, Tales of the Demon Lord is a collection of 11 low-prep adventures across the Northern Reach, and the Demon Lord screen gives you all the charts you need. These savings run through August 30th, and 10% of each payment after payment gateway fees will be donated to the Wildlife Conservation Society. Yes, so you can get your hands on many of the core books for Shadow of the Demon Lord. About $100, close to $100 value for right now, $18.67. There is another bundle of holding as well, which has even more Shadow of the Demon Lord content. That's one thing I've always noticed about this game, even though I'm not overly familiar with it, although I've always heard good things about it, is that there's always content. There's always new content coming out. So it is a well-supported product. Tessie Trekkie points out that shipping for Free League Kickstarters where they live is always good since they ship a container down there and a local packer packs it. Well, that's kind of cool. Russell Higgins is popping on into chat. So the Madman mentioned that Dolmenwood looks really nice. He would back it if he thought he'd. So I've got news of another Kickstarter. Oh, somebody's pointing out that they're getting a bunch of lag. So I am taking a peek here. We are not showing any drop frames. So if there is lag going on, that is going to be a YouTube issue, not here. So very sorry to hear that, everybody. Yeah, it looks like we are running steady. We are running steady. So fingers crossed that that cleans up. Flaming Heron mentions they've got no issues there. Good to see Flaming Heron. I did not say hello yet. So Madman says it froze up, but then he refreshed. Seems fine now. Yeah, it's like I said, every once in a while we get some YouTube issue rearing its head. So, talking about another Kickstarter, Roll for Combat is in the midst of a crowdfunding project for World of Battle Zoo Indigo Isles. This is for Pathfinder, 1st edition, 2nd edition, and 5e D&D. Here's the latest. The World of Battle Zoo Indigo Isles is the first lore book within the Battle Zoo world of Alucard. This book is centered around the tropical Indigo Isles. World of Battlezoo Indigo Isles is designed to work within any game, so you can quickly drop these islands into your own campaign, use them in conjunction with the Jewel of the Indigo Isles adventure path, use them with the upcoming Battlezoo Eldamon book, or use them as the launching point for your introduction into the world of Alucard. No matter who you are, this fantastic book has something for you. Players can use nearly 100 pages of new ancestries, heritages, and player options to build new PCs. An overview of the ancient spiritual religion known as the Eld, which allows for the creation of all the Eldamon found throughout the world of Alucard. And an expanded overview of the gods of Alucard and its faith system known as the Balance. Luke, use the balance. I know that was something else. Game Masters can use 15 new dragons as monsters. Actually, the 5e book has 20, featuring the entire family of wild dragons from Battlezoo Ancestry's dragons, including the Amber, Carillion, Harlequin, Indigo, and Vermilion dragons. Dozens of pages featuring 10 new towns you can use in any game. Detailed overview of the key locations within the Isles, including the people, culture, and areas of interest. There's also dozens of story hooks and interesting NPCs that can be inserted into any campaign. There is a short Kickstarter video. It is different, I will tell you that. So let's kick back and take a peek.
Hi, Barbarian here. Are you a game master looking for an amazing game world rich in lore and strange new creatures to run your D&D or Pathfinder 2 game in? Well, look no further than the world of Battlezoo Indigo Isles. The world of Battlezoo Indigo Isles contains everything you need to set sail for adventure, except maybe a boat. You're probably gonna have to buy your own boat, but the book itself contains a detailed overview of key locations on the Indigo Isles, dozens of story hooks and NPCs, and details on the ancient spiritual religion known as the Eld. Wow, that sounds spooky. Don't forget to take your weapons with you. You'll also get 15 new dragons as monsters, featuring the entire family of wild dragons from the Battlezoo Ancestry's Dragons book to help you murderize your players' precious characters. And you'll get gobs of new magic items to make them feel like they might have a chance. But they won't, will they? What's more, there are tons of new character options, 10 new ancestries, and new archetypes and subclasses and heritages, and seven familiars native to the Indigo Isles. Remember, the world of Battlezoo Indigo Isles comes in 2 versions, one for D&D 5e and another for Pathfinder 2. Oh yeah, and they're releasing the PDF right after the Kickstarter ends. If you'd like a new fantastical world to amaze your players with, click the link below and back the Kickstarter today.
The project is over 700% funded. You can reserve a copy of World of Battlezoo. I'm just teasing Tessie Trekkie. No, I was saying Battlezoo, not Battlezoo. Anyway, you can reserve a copy of World of Battlezoo Indigo Isles in the flavor of your choice, the system of your choice, digitally for $29.99. Or you can grab the physical book, once again, of your choice with PDF for a $59.99 pledge through August 18th. Expected delivery for the digital products is this September, so pretty quick turnaround on that. And the physical books should ship and go out to backers next that they had backed this. Funny enough, I ran into Stephen Fricker from Roll for Combat at Gen Con. In fact, I want to say, I think it was the Wednesday that I was picking up my badge. He was in the press room. We were chatting a little bit. And he mentioned, he's like, yeah, we should have you on the show again. It was like, I don't know, did that ruin your ratings? I don't know how popular my visit to their I don't know how popular my visit to their show was, but I had fun. I had a good time. It looks like everybody's getting lag again. So, unfortunately, what usually happens when this lag hits on YouTube is the finished video will have portions that drop, where it'll be like a cut and a jump. So hoping we don't have a lot of this, but as I mentioned, everything is running like a charm on my end. And it's not unusual. YouTube does have server issues from time to time. So it could be what's going on right now. My final news piece, the latest supplement for Tales from the Loop is available as a pre-order from Free League Publishing. Here's what I know about They Grow Up So Fast. Everything changed on that fateful day. Looking back, I know whatever we did changed our lives forever. The sky ruptured and something strange came through. It was a great adventure that showed us how little we knew about the universe. It was scary and yet magical. I wish we could do it again. In these 4 adventures that together forms a campaign spanning the seasons of a year, the kids will be tested to the limits of their abilities. When an ordinary camping trip turns into something else, they'll discover that friends come in all sizes and forms, and even from different worlds. Together, they will go on an adventure they will never forget. This book includes a 4-part campaign taking place in the UK loop of Norfolk Broads. Extensive information on the Norfolk Broads loop and the area surrounding it. Tips on how to set the campaign in the Swedish and US loops. There's new art, maps, and handouts. It's important to keep in mind, this is a pre-order. It also includes early access. So if you do pre-order this, and it's supposed to be shipping this month, you will immediately get the full PDF via Drive-Thru RPG. This is not for sale over at Drive-Thru RPG as of yet. Because I double-checked, I took a peek. Because usually when something is available on Drive-Thru RPG, Free League Publishing tosses it my way. And there are times that the file is already up on Drive-Thru RPG, just not publicly available yet. That is what I'm going to guess is going on. That's how I get a lot of the previews of review copies that are like in transit from Free League. So should be available anytime now. You can pre-order the hardcover for $29.73 from the Free League Publishing website. Of course, that could change by a few cents because, obviously enough, it's based on the current exchange rate. So very nice. We had a lot of cool news from Free League Publishing. Hopefully you had a chance to check out my interview with Thomas Harenstam from Free League Publishing. I would have shared a news piece about the Moria announcement for the One Ring second edition. There's no images. I think there's one image that they're sharing. So Wild Hunter says, I love Free League, but I think I'm too old for this. I have to say, if you were a teenager in the 80s, you will probably really dig Tales from the Loop. Things from the Flood, it's a little darker, and it's the 90s. And Tales from the Loop, you're playing early teens or even preteens, tweens, whatever you want to call them. Whereas Things from the Flood, you're playing older teenagers and even like somebody 20 years old. So I find it pretty interesting that in Tales from the Loop, it is frowned upon to kill the player characters. Not so much in Things from the Flood. Flaming Heron says, never too old for a game We are all young at heart. Yes. All right. So that is the news for tonight. Of course, I was just mentioning Drive-Thru RPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're going to go visit Drive-Thru RPG or Dungeon Masters Guild, Storytellers Vault, Wargame Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up. Help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, please give it a quick thumbs up. But if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find the Gaming Gang to be a valuable resource, the website at least, hell, if you just like what we do, by all means, please swing on over to paypal.me/thegaminggang and buy me a cup of coffee, make a small donation. It's like the madman recently swung on by paypal.me/thegaminggang and made a not small donation. So, and it is much appreciated. All of you out there who use the banner ads and or visit paypal.me. So Jason Mountain is with us. Cyberpunk. They are pumped. It's going to be a few minutes. We will be diving on into Combat Zone. So John Mascola is with us in chat. Good to see John once again. So Wild Hunter said they recently bought Holler on my recommendation. It's excellent, a design classic. So Holler, I'm zoning. I'm zoning out on that. So anyway, back to real quick, kind of talk a little bit about Gen Con. As I mentioned, I'll kind of cover Gen Con throughout the week. But I wanted to point out that I get Kevin King is with us in chat. I saw Kevin pop in, forgot to say hello. Sorry about that. Anyway, people from time to time ask me, why don't I ever cover like the hot games at, whatever convention? And there's a few different reasons why. So the madman says Holler was Savage Worlds, if that's what Wild Hunter is referring to. So is that like an old review or something? I don't know. So anyway, so there's a few different reasons why. And I also have people who ask, well, how come you interview the same companies all the time? And the answer to that is, not only do I find these companies release really good gaming products, they also happen to be really good people. So you may not have realized this over the years, but this hobby to me is not about the games. It's never been about the games. It's always about the people. So when I have the opportunity to help promote companies that I feel are run by like really class individuals, then I definitely do what I can to help promote them. So that is one of the reasons why I don't like really go out of my way to make sure I'm talking to some company about, the newest big deal. And a lot of times those games kind of come and go. A lot of times games out there that it's just, oh, wow, oh my gosh, everybody's got to have it. Oh, this game is great. And then 3 months later, everybody's like, what? What game? Huh? Oh, there we go. Vaesen. Thank you. I was going to say, okay, so yes, that I've reviewed. Jason points out that they like the chat with Tomas over at Free League. So yeah, Tomas is always cool. I think that's the third time I've talked with him. People tend to like my chats with Dominic McDowell over at Cubicle 7 Entertainment and Wolfgang Bauer over at Cobalt Press. You'll be able to see that interview later tonight, as well as my interview with AAW Games. I talked to Tilo over at AAW, and we talked about Rultmork, which I'm going to be sharing a first look at next week. So, but yeah, that's one of the reasons why I don't chase after the latest hotness. Now, that doesn't mean I won't interview a company for the first time, because as you've already seen, there are some people over at Gen Con this year that I had an opportunity to talk to that I hadn't talked to before. But I also respect their companies and the products that they release as well. So I don't know. So it's just kind of how it is. I think you've realized by now that this is kind of a custom crafted YouTube channel. I run a custom crafted website. You don't see all the latest Magic the Gathering news. You don't see all the Games Workshop news or Fantasy Flight Games news. Although, I don't know, I think Fantasy Flight Games is teetering on the brink. They're not such a big deal anymore. But anyway, so I think that kind of goes with it. Something else I wanted to mention is that I don't do a shtick. I'm pretty sure everybody realizes that. I don't know. Maybe you don't. Maybe you think that, this is like an act that I do 3 times a week, and then other times when I shoot videos and that. No, that's not the case. This is who I am. And if you've had an opportunity to actually meet me at a convention, you could kind of see that, yeah, this is how I am, good and bad. So anyway, Wild Hunter says Free League Publishing's production values are excellent. They really care about the settings and gameplay. The only release that I have ever encountered from Free League Publishing that I found to be disappointing, and I gave a thumbs down to effectively, was the Tales from the Loop starter set. I thought it was overpriced, and I also thought that there was really nothing to it. And I was actually very shocked by it, because every box set we see from Free League Publishing is just excellent, top-notch stuff. And then that was like, picked it up, it was like a box of air. I was really, really surprised. Scott B. Smith has joined us tonight. Good to have you hang with the gang. So anyway, just floating that out there as far as how I approach interviews at conventions. I look for people that I like, that I have a lot of respect for, that some of them I actually even consider to be friends in the industry. Those I look to try to make sure that I get an opportunity to interview to help promote their products. So, Old Gods of Appalachia is out. Yes. I think it is now in stores, or it's about to be in stores. Scott B. Smith is pointing out that they got it from the Kickstarter. It looked pretty interesting. I got to be honest, I tried to listen to that podcast. Then maybe it was because I started like at the beginning, like on the first episode. I just couldn't get into it. I was like, oh, this is... Tessie Trekkie says 2024 life goals: take a month's annual leave, fly to Gen Con, geek out, find me and buy me a beer. You wouldn't be the first. You would not be the first who's, well, bought me a beer as far as flying to Gen Con from, outside the country and that, and buying me a beer. Yeah, you'd be the first doing that. All right, so tonight I'm going to be diving on in and taking a first look at Cyberpunk RED Combat Zone. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission. As soon as you see that little thing pop by.
To witness the takeoff of the first manned rocket to outer space. We pick up the count. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
We're off to visit the planets. There are treats galore in the stars. Venus is loaded with candy, and ice cream is found upon Mars. The soda.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
We're interviewing a stomach.
Hello there.
What is life like as a stomach?
Oh, boy, it was humdrum. I mean, until what's-his-name discovered Tony's Pizza.
Tony's Pizza?
Yeah, I was suffering from the pizza cravings until Tony's came along. Crispy crust and zesty sauces. Wow.
And so now... What's that?
Another pizza craving. Just thinking about Tony sets it off.
Oh, where are you going?
He's going to get a Tony's Pizza. And I, anyway.
Does your stomach send you pizza craving signals? Oh, wow. Tony's, the Pizza Cravers Pizza. Available at the concession stand.
You know, people who don't drink Wilkins coffee just blow up sometimes. Oh, that's a lot of... See what I mean?
Can't get enough of Super Sugar Crisp.
Sugar Bear, the block!
Gonna make you disappear with my disappearing pain.
Bye, Blob. Have a good breakfast, kids, featuring Super Sugar Crisp.
A flipper tag game. Cut out the red. Let's play. It's tic-tac-toe. I got X's. I got O's. Gotta get 3 in a row.
One in each specially marked box of Post Super Sugar Crisp.
This is the rugged G.I. Joe adventure team. At dawn, G.I. Joe heads across the desert in search of the mysterious missing mummy. Suddenly, an earthquake. No time to lose. Joe must get the mummy out. Can G.I. Joe win his race against time? You find out. The Secret of the Mummy's Tomb. One of the adventure sets from G.I. Joe.
That was sort of weird because I specifically put that correct intermission video into OBS Studios earlier today. That was super bizarre because that was last night's intermission video. And it's weird because with OBS Studio, you don't save anything. You put it in and it's automatically saved, which I don't actually necessarily like because sometimes if you make a mistake and do something, then you have to go back to like the beginning and redo everything. So Madman says, oh no, I remember the Super Sugar Crisp and G.I. Joe commercials. No, I'm not that old. Yeah. So Scott says, wait, is Cobra also after that mummy? I don't get it. Actually, at that point in time, there was no Cobra. It was just G.I. Joe. We're talking, those were the big G.I. Joes. All right. So tonight I am going to be jumping on in, taking a first look at Cyberpunk RED Combat Zone from Monster Fight Club and R.Talsorian Games. This is designed by John Cadiz. I think that's the pronunciation of his name. Aaron Dill and John Kovaleski, with artwork provided by Jose David, Lanza Siverian, and Katie Dillon. This is for 2 or more players, ages 14 and up. Scenarios play out in around 45 to 90 minutes or so. And this core box set we're going to take a look at carries an MSRP of $120. this, I believe, was actually a Gen Con release. So let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got Cyberpunk RED Combat Zone. So do you want to mention that the fine folks over at Monster Fight Club, in fact, it was John Kowaleski himself, gave me this review copy of Combat Zone. But neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. And these days, it's important that you know that. So, there's discussion of the madman's age, and I was just taking a peek to see, did we see his age? Did he say what his age was? Madman, you don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to tell anybody. You can keep it to yourself. It's okay. Tessie Trekkie says 40 is the new 20. So I guess 56 is like the new 55. All right, anyway. So first of all, I'm going to get this shrink wrap off because we are picking up quite a bit of glare there. So I was telling the story yesterday of how I got this review copy. And real quickly, I had popped over to R.Talsorian Games because I saw Cody Pondsmith was signing, and I just wanted to say hello and say, hey, thanks for the review copies of the Cyberpunk RED stuff that I've shared with you. And Jay Gray came out, who is their marketing person, who knows me. And we talked for a little bit, and I already told you I've got a copy of the Danger Gal dossier we'll be taking a look at next week. And he said, oh, do you know John over at Monster Fight Club? And I said, no. And he said, well, come on, I'll bring you over, introduce you. And then I actually talked to John Kowaleski for about 25 minutes about Cyberpunk RED Combat Zone. And he gave me a review copy to take with. So I was like, wow, he didn't know me from anybody. But I have to say, it was kind of interesting because I think, I refer to kind of like industry talk as talking inside baseball. And it was funny because talking with John from Monster Fight Club, who used to run Gale Force 9, it was sort of like talking baseball with Connie Mack. I felt like, man, I don't know jack about this industry. All right, so it's 2045. Massive mega buildings light up the skies above Night City, while cyber-enhanced gangs battle in the shadows, each carving out a bloody piece of ground to call their own. In Night City's combat zone, laws are scarce and violence settles scores. Become the leader of gang and fight fever-pitched battles or sweeping campaigns. Equip your gang, hire your mercs, and build your street cred to dominate the hellish rubble of the combat zone and emerge as the new master of the streets. And then it tells us what's in the box, but we're going to take a look inside the box itself to find out. And as I mentioned already, this box has a good amount of heft. So I should also mention that I kind of have an idea how this game works because, as I pointed out, John from Monster Fight Club was kind of giving me a rundown. So we've got the rule book. Let's take a look at that first. Try to scoot this kind of out of the way. You know what? Let's do this. So I think this clocks in around 45 pages or so. So we've got our rule book here. And if you are a fan of Cyberpunk RED, or I guess I could even say Cyberpunk 2077, this is probably going to be right up your alley. So, all right, strangely enough, okay, there we go. So Justin Gibbs was left off of the game design over on Board Game Geek. That's where I got that info. And look, we've got a lot more illustrators. You know, I got to stop pulling info off of Board Game Geek because a lot of times it's just not right. So welcome to the Combat Zone. It's a place, but it's also a feeling in your heart. You kind of, I should say, the kind of feeling that lets you know if you're scared, you're going to die. Back in the time before the Red, city dwellers cared about pop songs, going to prom in spacious back seats. Pop stored it all right, and skills with a guitar could land you your sweetheart. Honestly, stuff hasn't changed that much. Just everything has. Since the bomb went off, nobody wants to be governed, and everyone wants to do the governing. That's why factions exist, but even those don't last long in this special hell pit called the Combat Zone. Folks there follow no man. It's dog eat dog on a massive scale. The weak flock together and try to survive the lawless zone. Allowed the chance to gain experience to swallow down some factory-made sludge and accumulate weapons, a team might rise above the others to command a portion of the zone. Each group of gangers has their specialty. Some are left over from before the bomb. Vets, police, medics. Some groups don't remember a time when someone didn't have to lose a finger over an imported dolly. Explore these gangs for yourself and see if one of them is worth your time. Are you, though, worth their time? Get ready to enter the Combat Zone. So we get a breakdown, a little more background of the Combat Zone of Night City. So we've got the gangs of Night City. So the gangs that are represented in Combat Zone are Maelstrom and Tiger Claws. So if you are familiar with Cyberpunk RED or, once again, Cyberpunk 2077, Maelstrom are humans who have been augmented a lot. They're really into like body modification. In fact, many of them don't even really have faces anymore. It's all tech. Really wild, really creepy, to be honest. Tiger Claws are an Asian gang, so they are more like ninjas and stuff like that. I want to say, I believe they're Japanese. So we've got the Bozos, Lawmen, Combat Zoners, Gen Red, which I think are like kids, if I remember correctly. Yeah, they are kids. They're like teenagers or like preteens. Neo corporate teams, Edge Runners and Mercs. Where's our trauma team? Nope. Guess they would be considered the law? I don't know. Or maybe I guess they'd be neo corporate. So we've got the reaction system. So kind of give you a little bit, I'm going to try to remember this. So Jason Mountain says, the lore is top notch. Pretty soon we'll be living it. Yeah, well, Cyberpunk's been around for a long time. I remember reading Necromancer when it first came out. So things have changed a bit, but I don't, what do they call it now? Like neopunk? Because you don't find a lot of authors writing true cyberpunk anymore. I forget. For some reason, I thought they call it like neopunk. All right. So anyway, so we have like an action economy almost. So you'll have characters and they have like 3 actions. Neuromancer. Thank you, Kevin. I don't know why I said Necromancer. As soon as I said it, I'm like, yeah, that's wrong. How about if I say Baron Zero? Wasn't that? Or is it Count Zero? I think maybe it's Count Zero. Yeah, I've never read any William Gibson. I'm just making this stuff, just pulling it out of my ass. No, I have read. Actually, Bruce Sterling. I always like Bruce Sterling stuff. John Walter Williams did some stuff too. So anyway, so we got this almost like a 3-action economy sort of system, green, yellow, and red. And you'll see that when we take a look at Fleming, it says, yeah, who's William Gibson? Philip K. Dick. Who's that? I don't know. So anyway, so you'll be able to spend these actions, and they have corresponding dice. So green is 12-sided die, yellow is 8-sided, and red is 6-sided. So of course, using your green action is going to have a higher chance of success than, say, a red action. So we also have a limiter. We'll take a look at that. That is kind of our measuring device. Combat Zone is scenario driven. This means that each game uses a scenario that defines your goals, explains how to set up your teams, and gives structure to the game. You can play a single scenario as a one-off game, or you can link a series of scenarios together as a campaign. That's what I'm curious about, because Wild Hunter had pointed out this sounds a little bit like Necromunda. And in my opinion, the big selling point for Necromunda is the campaign game, where you're able to really expand your characters, your faction, your team. So Tessie Trekkie says they remember hearing an interview with Mike Pondsmith in the Cyberpunk 2020 US sourcebook. He had a table referring to wealth and income inequality. People at the time derided him for being unrealistic. Yeah, as Kevin King points out, we're certainly living that part. So Tessie Trekkie says he was using the actual data from the IRS and the government published for the prior year in the early 90s. Yeah, Mike Pondsmith, really good game designer. And something I explain to people that they're not all that aware of is Cyberpunk 2077. I need a sip here. I should ask, is the sound decent tonight? Is it all right? I know it's not going to be too polished, but hopefully it's a little better than last night. Last night, I guess, wasn't too bad. I checked it out on my phone, and I was like, yeah, it sounds okay. It kind of had a radio sound to it. Jason says, sounds good. I forgot what I was going to say. Started stumbling over something. I'm like, yeah, I need a sip here. And then it's like, I completely forgot what I was talking about. Mike Pondsmith. So a lot of people who play Cyberpunk 2077 don't realize that it is all from a role-playing game. All that lore, everything is from the Cyberpunk role-playing game. Now, some of it's Cyberpunk 2020, some of it's Cyberpunk RED. And that CD Projekt Red, if I remember correctly, I think that's the official name of the company. They licensed that from R.Talsorian Games. They licensed it from Mike and Cody Pondsmith. So just goes to show how just amazing and in-depth the lore is for Cyberpunk. All right, so building a team. So we've got different Euro bucks, which is the currency of Cyberpunk. So also showing us the area of a table that you need. This is a skirmish level miniatures game, so you don't need a ton of space. Wild Hunter points out it was revolutionary game design back in the day. It's the funny thing is, a lot of people think Cyberpunk RED is really crunchy. It's not. The actual mechanics, the core mechanics of the game are pretty light. There's just a lot of gear and tech, things like that. So we've got constructing the battle space. So we've got our character cards. So it looks as if the characters are named. And I think we have different cards for different levels that they can achieve. So you have skills. So we've got reflexes, ranged combat. Here, I'll Bing, there's reflexes there. Ranged combat, melee, medical, tech, and influence. We've got gear cards. And we see we've got these colors. I'll show you what that is. Like I said, Mike Kovaleski went into a lot of detail about this. I probably actually would have talked to him longer, but I had that interview with Rolla-Crit that I had to go run over to. So player turns. So there are ways for your opponent kind of interrupt and steal the turn. So this isn't designed as one side moves in all their units and takes actions with their units. There you go. Stray Kismet points out eddies equals cash. So everybody's saying the sound is all right. Sounds pretty good. John Mascola says it sounds great. So we've got anatomy of an action, resolving it. So we've got an example of a turn, it looks like. So we have crits and fumbles. So a crit always succeeds unless both players roll a crit, and then it's considered a tie, and the tie goes to the defender. And that is in all cases, ties go to the defender. So we've got command actions, movement. I'll tell you one thing that is very impressive so far looking through this, and this is the first time I've checked out anything from Monster Fight Club. I've shared some news over the years for some of their Kickstarters that have come out, but I really like the fact that if you notice, all of these are examples. These are all breaking down what's being pretty much explained here. We're getting a visual representation and example. So elevated attacks. So while it looks like, yeah, there's a lot of rules to this, gotta keep in mind, a lot of the page real estate are these examples as well. Flaming Heron points out they really appreciate visual examples. Jason says this is giving off some Elder Scrolls Call to Arms vibes, similar in game design. Gotta be honest, I have never had an opportunity to take a peek at that. So we got wounds and being wounded. Looting bodies, healing. We have reactions. Reactions represent your models adapting quickly as the battle gets more bloody, taking a shot or throwing a punch at the person who just bloodied them, or moving out of the line of fire to avoid being attacked again. When a character takes a wound from an attack, that character may immediately make a reaction. Reactions use action tokens like normal actions do, so the character must have a ready action token in order to use a reaction. Reactions are a single action taken after your rival's wounding action is fully resolved. They interrupt the normal sequence of your opponent taking actions. Each model may only react once per enemy action, even if that action causes more than one wound. If that character is wounded again by a different action and they have another ready action, they may react again. Now we get a gameplay example. Net running. So yes, we've got some net running going on. Man says, I'm not going to be much good for making any audio quality determinations. I have some dark techno playing in the background, looking for some background audio for his Friday night game night. So we got drones, building your team. So there's discussion of rarity of gear and programs. It's like different terminology. Is this the glossary? Oh, action effect rules. Okay. Campaign games. See, this is what I was curious about. So we've got headquarters, scenario cards, choosing your team, completing objectives, street cred. It says at the start of every campaign game, compare the street cred of the two teams. If one team's is lower, they receive a number of luck tokens equal to the difference. Life and death. So it doesn't look like it goes into sort of detail that we would see with like Necromunda. But this is just kind of the core box. I know there's a lot of other miniatures out there for Combat Zone already. I wouldn't be shocked if there are other additional materials to flesh out a campaign game. So it looks like we also have a bit of a player aid on the back of the book. So that clocked in at 54 pages. So next up, we have an ad for Borderlands, which this was also at the Monster Fight Club exhibit area set up, and they were demoing it. And I understand this uses the same core mechanics as Combat Zone, but it has a hex grid as far as movement and things like that. And then we've got the monster scenery. This is the stuff that I have shared Kickstarter information about from Monster Fight Club in the past. All right, so we have got, these are, what do they call them? Let me take a look real quick. They are, as everything fell out of the box. Of course it would. So I'm trying to look here. They're called limiters. Is there something underneath? Oh, there is. That's wild. I was like, it's like, what was underneath the insert that like made that fall out? I was like, what the hell's going on? Okay. So these are the limiters. So the limiters actually, it's a little difficult to kind of make these out with the kind of dark background I use. But we've got green, yellow, red. So green actions take place in this area. Yellow here, red here. There's a reach here as well. So like if you used a red action to move, this is the distance you can move. John Mescal is rocking on out. Good to see you once again, John. We'll catch you next time. All right, so there we go. So we've got 2 of those, and they are flexible. We will actually zoom in just a minute. We'll get a closer look at the miniatures and the cards. So here we've got our tokens. And these are our action tokens, red, yellow, green. Looks like these are some informational tokens here. So we've got that. We've got a bunch of baggies. We've got some cards. We've got our dice. So we've got the green 12-siders, yellow 8-siders, and the red 6-siders, and then we've got some 10s, which are black. So I'm going to take a guess that we use those for other things. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to zoom in. Well, you know what? Not yet, because we have a board. We have a double-sided board. So let's take a look at that. And it's kind of weird because it said it was paper. Well, it's card stock. So, I mean, it's like a board game board. So that's pretty wild. So it looks like it's the street on one side. I guess on both sides it is. So as you see, there are no squares or hexes or anything like that because you're using that for your measurements. And once again, it's flexible. All right. So that's this side here. So it looks like it's a highway or street. And then this side also has a street. Actually, it looks kind of similar, except it has an intersection here. So that is that. Now, there's other terrain as well that we're going to take a peek at. Now I can zoom in. And then I'm going to lock the focus. All right, so now I have locked in the focus. And I think we've got some terrain pieces here. I know there are these like plastic containers and stuff. I saw some of those at Gen Con. They looked really cool. So looks like rubble. It's like a building there. Looks like we've got some graffiti. Another building. It's kind of cool. It's got like a door that I think you'd punch out. So you got a few of these buildings. They look like they'll end up being ruins, to be honest. Then we have, looks like these might be pieces to hold things together. So it kind of looks like here. This is what was underneath the insert, and all of a sudden everything popped out. So there's that. Ah, here we go. Some of the containers. And as you can see, if you're familiar with Cyberpunk Arasaka, it's one of the Neocorps. Looks like we got a couple of these, and then they just snap together to make a container. And it was kind of cool. I saw some of the other containers that they've got. You can put them together, and they've got different stuff. So like you could make like a noodle shop out of them. So Scott B. Smith is asking, so it's 3D card scenery held together by plastic clips? I think so. I think that is what it is. And then we've got minis. We'll be taking a look at those in just a sec. Got quite a few different cards. So we've got scenario cards. I'm not going to take a look at all of these because I kind of want to have a bit of a surprise. But this is give you an idea what the scenario cards look like. Got to admit, that text is pretty small. Be busting out the old reading glasses for that. So we've got that. Then we've got, looks like we've got some gear cards. I'd have some like net running cards in here as well. So I think there's a few decks. So let's take a peek. All right, so this says gear. Taking a guess, those are maybe hacker programs. More gear. Oh, I get it. I bet you it's broken up by fact. Yep, it is. I was going to say it's broken by faction. There's Maelstrom. There's tiger claws. And then are these like special moves? Instill rage, buffer zone, ambush, adware, Trojan alpha. Here. Nervous system overlord. Oh, overload. Overlord. Duh. Death dealer. Berserker. And you'll notice these are color coded and they correspond with those dice, with those actions. So take a look at some of the gear. Hydraulic limbs, Kevlar armor, intimidating sunglasses. You'll notice a lot of these have bonuses to the various different skills. Mono katana, neural override. So that is some of the Tiger Claws gear. Some of the Maelstrom gear, grapple gun, spiky leathers, heavy submachine gun, heavy armor jack. So it's got 3 points of armor. And then we see it's also got a rarity. And I think that's the cost. I think that's the cost in eddies. So we've got those. And then, oh, this looks like more gear. High velocity ammo, biotoxin, gel rounds. It's like gummy bears for your gun. So it looks like it's a stun attack. Hollow projector. Now you see me. Discard when this model fails an opposed roll to ignore all wounds. I'm sorry. Discard when this model fails an opposed roll to ignore all wounds. I guess I was reading that right. From that single attack. Okay. So, got those. Then we've got the miniatures. And it looks like we have different heads. So, actually, let's try to see. So the Madman's talking about their group wants to pause Pathfinder for Savage Worlds and go back to East Texas University. That's pretty wild. Let's see if we can get maybe... see, I told you before, the autofocus on the Panasonic is not really great. Yeah, that's awful. And that's as close as I can zoom in, gang. Sorry about that. So hopefully you can get an idea. I mean, these are pretty small. So these are like the back of their heads. It's like they've got cyberware. And then we've got, oh, so these are on sprues. So here's, looks like a couple of arms holding, it's like a submachine gun or a rifle. That's kind of cool. So you can put them together however you want. Got some more heads there. Got the bodies. So we have 6 Tiger Claws and we've got 6 Maelstrom. This guy's a pretty big boy here. See, now it looks like the shot might be all right. You can kind of see the detail on these. I would have used a different lens if we were only looking at the miniatures. But because we were looking at so many other things in the box. I kind of went with my all-purpose zoom. Wow, these look really cool. And you got a lot of different options because we've got the various different bodies. So all you do with this one is just put a head on it. So I wonder if we have any extra heads. I just got curious. So that is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, looks like we've got a few extra heads. Looks like we've got 3. Looks like we've got 3 extra heads. There's another figure here that you're just adding a head to. These are plastic. They're fairly stiff. You would probably want to treat these before priming them and painting them, because there is, especially with some of the thinner plastic, like this is a female character, I can tell, and like the elbow, pretty thin, so it's got a little bit of give to it. But there are different ways that you can treat these. You can treat plastic miniatures to kind of stiffen them up. Otherwise, if you just prime it and paint it, if there's a little bit of give, then of course the paint's going to flake off. I really like the detail on these. It was kind of funny. I just was talking to my brother today. Oh, there we go. Something's missing off of that. It looks like it was only one thing, maybe 2. But there are some loose things floating around in here. Like this. This is probably, it was originally part of this sprue. But my brother was asking me if I had ever done videos about painting miniatures. And I said, back in the day, I did a video, we're talking like 2011, talking about what you need to get started without breaking the bank. But I never did any videos about painting because, to be honest, I'm decent as far as painting miniatures. I think it would be so difficult to get the camera in there and focus on the painting. And of course, I'm old now, so my eyesight's not the greatest either. So it's not unusual for me to break out the old reading glasses or anything like that. So I'm really impressed by what you get in Cyberpunk RED Combat Zone. So we've got a dozen miniatures. We've got terrain. It looked like we've got a couple of these containers. We've got the cardstock terrain. Once again, I think these are supposed to hold things together for it. That's what it looks like. Like these are maybe corners. I know it's a little out of focus, but so we've got that. We've got the various different cards. The last thing we're going to take a look at, we're going to take a look at some of these characters. So I still have a deck of those to take a look at. We've got stands for the miniatures as well. Looks like we might have even had an extra stand or 2 there. And of course, we have the custom dice. All right, so last thing we're going to take a peek at as that pops out. But as I was saying, it looks like we get a good amount of value here. And yes, granted, they are plastic miniatures. But, I mean, most box sets that come out, that's what they are plastic. Okay, so we've got the objective cards for Tiger Claws. And these have a linen finish. They are kind of thin, but they do have that linen finish. So we've got these, I think, are the characters. Got Maelstrom objectives, and then their characters. So let's take a look at some of these. Kyodai is a protector. I've got the katana. So a couple of those. But if you notice, remember I was talking about how we've got the actions that are available to the character and there's like level ups. It looks like this is the level up. So it looks like each of these characters we're going to have 2 cards for. So this is just how they start out, because the green action is more powerful than the yellow action, right? So we got 2. Still have the 2, but that. So we have Onisan with an assault rifle. And that's the improved. Ooh, this is pretty cool. Oyabun. It's a leader. So 2 green and a yellow, and then gets all 3 green. Says when this model's activation ends, you may activate another friendly Tiger Claw. We've got the Ronin Assassin. The Ronin Sniper. Oh, the Ronin Sniper actually has 3 cards. See? There we go. Wakagashira. He's a company man. He's a specialist. And each of these characters kind of have their own special ability as well on here. So then we've got objectives. Flow of goods. Successfully use the loot gear and or loot goods actions a total of 3 or more times combined this game, and then it gives you your reward. We're not going to look at all of these, but we've got Splash the Net. Take out the non-leader rival character with the highest influence. In the case of a tie, take out one of the tied models. That tells you what the reward is. Cyber Gear. Equip its character with Tech Savvy. Oh, so a piece of cyber gear for a character, and Tech Savvy would be that model gains Net Runner. So there's a lot of these. So I guess you can have multiple objectives. Shadow Strike. Strike for the head. So Flaming Heron says, putting the minis together, Jeff? Not tonight. Stray Kismet says, I'd install mini magnets in the joints so you can change the equipment. That'd be pretty tough. Scott asks, what's the MSRP on the box? It is $120. Now, remember, that's the MSRP. So that doesn't necessarily mean, and I'm not trying to tell you don't make your purchase from Monster Fight Club, but MSRP, it's very possible that this is carried by online retailers as well. Probably not looking at paying MSRP. So Kevin King says you play gangers instead of edge runners. Yes, that's what it looks like. So we've got the Berserker as far as our Maelstrom characters. 2 cards for them. We got the Crusher. The Flenser gets to activate a friendly model. That's their, I think that was influence. Range Specialist. So this also uses drones. You can have drones that you can take over drones, and it's sort of like you can fly the drone around, and it actually gives you line of sight to models that your team wouldn't have line of sight to. So I thought that was kind of interesting. We've got the Ripper. And we've got a 3-card Warlord. After this model inflicts a wound in a brawl, refresh up to 1 action token on all other visible friendly characters. Wow. So that's where they max out. So those are our Maelstrom characters, and then some of the objectives for them. Trophies. Successfully use the loot gear action 2 or more times this game. Sort of saw something similar to that with the Tiger Claws. Taking heads. Take out the rival leader with your leader. Kneel before Maelstrom. Use a luck token to turn a failed melee attack into a success. Cyber Rage. End the game with at least 1 friendly cyber character in 3 or more quarters. And last one, we'll take a look at Unmatched Fury. End a game with 3 or more body tokens within your rival's deployment zone. It does not matter if the bodies are friendly or rival, so long as they are bodies. Pretty wild. So Game Master's Hobby is sneaking on in as we're wrapping up the show for the night. So in this box set, we've got the various different decks of cards. We've got the plastic containers. We've got the cardstock terrain, which appears to be held together by plastic pieces here. We've got the scenario cards. We've got a dozen miniatures. We've got the cardstock board, which is dual-sided. We've got a bunch of the tokens, and we also have some baggies and a pretty cool insert as well. And that is what we find when we take everything from Cyberpunk Combat Zone outside the box. Of course, I will have a review of Cyberpunk RED. I should have said Cyberpunk RED. Combat Zone in the very near future. This box is so wide, I have to kind of squeeze it in. Fleming Heron says, jam-packed with goodness. Yeah, it looks pretty cool. It does. It looks pretty cool. So, as I mentioned, I'll have a review in the very near future. All right, that's going to be it for tonight. So, what's on the agenda? Got a couple of emails from people saying that, they're very interested in Tales of the Valiant, the playtest that's out there from Cobalt Press. I had it slated we were going to take a look at it next week. I'm going to change that. I'm going to take a look at that on tomorrow's show. So we will dive on in and take a look at the alpha playtest for Tales of the Valiant from Cobalt Press. I was going to take a look at Rage of Elements for Pathfinder. I will actually include that in the August Paizo preview. So I was going to shoot that anyway. I'll just do a far more in-depth look than I usually would in the preview videos. So that will be on tomorrow's show. Then on Tuesday, I was just talking about Cyberpunk RED Danger Gale Dossier. We're going to dive on in, take a peek at that. Then Wednesday, we'll have a War Game Wednesday, and we're going to take a look at The Last Kingdom from Gamelin Games. And then a week from tomorrow, we're going to jump on in and take a look at Rotmurk from AAW Games. This is hefty. I know there's a hardcover book in here along with some dice and some other goodies. So we're going to be taking a look at that as well. All right. Excuse me. Suddenly it was humid down here. Now it's really dry, but still kind of humid. It's weird. My throat's dry. The rest of me is kind of clammy. It's bizarre. All righty. So that is it for this time out. If you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ring that bell, because not only will it let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. God damn it, I said Monday. I'm so busy reaching for something here. Streams live Tuesday, Thursday, Wednesday, you know, those days, the middle of the week. So it's going to let you know when I'm streaming live. But it'll also let you know when I share other videos, such as my upcoming look at the practically complete guide to dragons for Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going to try to shoot this tomorrow. Worst case scenario, it'll be up on Friday. Don't forget, I got a couple of more Gen Con interviews that are going to go live tonight. It is AAW Games as well as Cobalt Press. So be sure to take a peek at those. All right, everybody, if you were watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, big tip of the cap, because not only are you keeping me company, you're keeping each other company as well while I'm diving on into all these things and screwing things up, you know, the usual. But of course, I know a lot of you out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you kindly for taking time out of your busy life to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you will not find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Everybody have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. I will be back tomorrow. And here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.
Thank you.